I mean, I have to confess, when me and my friends sort of used to run through the fields of wheat, the farmers weren't too pleased about that.
We are a group of students who have been tasked by Mrs. Theresa May, a known, passionate cropfield lover, to develop a mathematical model to investigate how the weight of barley changes as the growth rate changes, and how this will affect the yield of the barley. Throughout our investigation, we will be highlighting the key assumptions that we have made for our model, and explaining the process of the derivation of the formulae we have produced, as well as the important statistical information that has allowed us to reach our conclusions. The assumptions we're making. Throughout our model, we are making a number of crucial assumptions to make our model more accurate. Throughout our model, we are assuming that the type of plant is going to be held constant in order to ensure that the only variables which affect the growth rate of the plant, and hence the plant yield, are the ones which will be investigated in our model. For this video, we've chosen our crop to be barley. We are also taking the climate to be constant in order to eliminate any excess variables, such as temperature and humidity, and similarly the soil, so that the mineral concentrations will not affect the growth rate of the barley. The derivation of equations. These are the variables which we will be using in our model, and their definitions. W denotes the weight of the plants and is measured in kilograms. Y denotes the yield of the plants, and L denotes the maximum yield of the plants, both being measured in kilograms per hectare. N denotes the number of plants per plot. N also has no units. And finally we have T, which denotes the time passing from which the seed is planted, or the sowing, and is measured in days. So here we will begin our derivation. We start by deducing that the plant growth rate, or explicitly the rate of change of W with respect to T, is proportional to W by K, where K is a constant. At the point at which the seeds are sown, the reciprocal of y multiplied by the rate of change of y with respect to t is equal to our constant k, and as the rate of growth approaches 0, there is a multiplicative factor of 1 minus y divided by L, so that the growth rate will approach 0 as the yield will approach the limit L. Next, we begin the integration of the new equation number 3, labelled in the previous slide. First, we separate the variables by implicit integration. After rearranging and applying integration on the right-hand side of the equation, we get the following equation on the bottom, with the constant of integration denoted by C. Now, we apply integration by substitution on the left-hand side of the equation, by using the substitution of u equals 1 minus L divided by y, and dy equals y squared divided by L du. Once this has been applied, we get the result on the bottom, where the constant, which has been created by the substitution, or C1, simply adds to the previous constant to get an overall constant of C2 on the right-hand side. Now that we have solved this differential equation, we can raise to the power of e to give this equation in the final form, labelled 4, and with a new constant a. Modelling. Here we have the table which we have been presented with, and which we have been able to use to display the following graph, which demonstrates the yield of the barley against the time from the sowing, used with various different values of n. As we can see from the graph, the smallest number of plants per plot, which gives the greatest yield, is 32, and the rate of crop growth is also at its maximum when the plants per plot is 128. Here we have another model, which also allows us to work out the optimum plant density. Research from Western Australia's barley agronomy team has shown that there is an optimum range of plant densities, and that the yield and the grain quality can be greatly improved by growing the barley crops within these ranges. They calculated the optimum seeding densities for the crop yield and profitability for barley. The results here show that the optimum plant density for malt barley is between 110 and 130 plants per plot, which is very similar to our previous model, which gave us an optimum value of 128 plants per plot. The results of our model. From the data of our model, we can see that for the plants per plot we should use a minimum value of 32 in order to achieve an optimum yield. We also see that a high number of plants per plot will generally decrease the time it takes for the yield to reach its maximum value. Conclusion. From our model, we can conclude that the highest yield of barley is achieved with an average value between 110 and 130 plants per plot. This is confirmed through both sets of data, with the optimum yield in Table 1 being obtained with 128 plants per plot, which also falls within the above range as described by Table 2. Table 1 and its respective graph shows that a similar optimum yield can be obtained with just 32 plants per plot. However, these sets of crops have a slower rate of growth. The general trend shows that the greater the number of plants per plot, then the faster the rate of crop growth, and the greater the crop yield will therefore be.